Hello everyone. Today's video is very interesting for all those people who are afraid of the planets posited in the 8th house, because I am going to leak a very big secret which will surprise you all. And today I'm going to tell you that the planets posited in the 8th house are by and large capable of giving you lots of wealth. So before beginning, I want to remind my viewers that there is a video in the Hindi language on the same topic. You can just check out the link which I'm providing in the description box. So we are coming to the subject now. So we all know that the 8th house is associated with lots of turbulence in a person's life. And whenever the dasha of the 8th house is coming, or the dasha of the planet which is posited in the 8th house is coming, we are all afraid that something untoward is going to happen. So friends, if you are having the period of a planet which is posited in the 8th house, you should feel cheerful. The reason is that these are the planets which can by and large give you lots of wealth. But there are certain conditions when they may not give you wealth. So what are those conditions? I'm going to discuss that all through this video. So first of all, I will give you an example so as to explain my first point to all of you. Let's take an example of a Scorpio ascendant where the 8th house will be having Gemini sign. And suppose Mercury is placed in the Gemini sign. The second house in the Scorpio ascendant would be of Sagittarius. Now, suppose Mercury from the 8th house is in the Dasha and it is aspecting your second house. We all know as per this example. Now, Mercury is aspecting its enemy sign of Sagittarius. Mercury doesn't consider Jupiter as its friend. So when it is aspecting your second house, it means during the dasha of Mercury, there will be lots of concerns related to wealth and it is not going to come easily. In fact, there would be lots of expenses that will prevail during that time. So for this example, when the 8th Lord is not a friend to the second house Lord, then there will be losses of wealth during the dasha. But then the second part of this example will tell you that there could be lots of gains through the planets which are posited in your 8th house. Suppose in the second example, we take the sign Sagittarius. And for Sagittarius, the second house is Capricorn. Suppose in your 8th house, say there is planet Mercury and Venus placed. Now, Mercury and Venus are both friends to Saturn, which is the lord of the second house. If Mercury and Venus are in the dasha and they are placed in your 8th house, they will be aspecting your second house and they will be giving you lots of wealth. So the second point says that if the planet posited in the 8th house is friendly to the second lord, they will grant you lots of wealth. Now, the third point that I'm going to tell you is going to surprise you all. Suppose there is a planet which is in the debilitation in your 8th house. That planet is capable of giving you huge wealth. Why is it so? That I will explain you now. Suppose you take the example of Aries ascendant. I'm going to give you lots of examples to explain this point. Suppose you take the example of Aries ascendant. For Arians, the 8th house will be having moon as debilitated planet in that house. So moon is here in the 8th house in debilitation. During the dasha of moon, you will get lots of wealth. The reason to this is that moon is aspecting its exaltation sign in the second house, that is Taurus. So that is why moon in debilitation in the sign of Scorpio for the Aries ascendant can give you lots of wealth. Let's take another example of Gemini ascendant. For Geminians, the 8th house will be having Capricorn. And say Jupiter is placed here. Jupiter becomes debilitated in Capricorn. From here, Jupiter is aspecting the second house of Cancer, which is its exaltation sign. So during the debilitated Jupiter's dasha, it is going to grant you lots of wealth. Let's take another example of Leo ascendant. For the Leo ascendant, Mercury is debilitated in the 8th house. From here, Mercury is aspecting its exaltation sign of Virgo in the second house. So then the period of Mercury will be very good for you and it will grant you lots of wealth. Let's take the fourth example here. Say you are having Virgo ascendant. So in the Virgo ascendant, the eighth house is having debilitated Saturn. So Saturn will be aspecting its exaltation sign of Libra from the eighth house. Then also you can expect huge amount of wealth. Let's say you are having the ascendant of Aquarius. For the Aquarius ascendant, suppose Venus is placed debilitated in your eighth house. In the Virgo sign, Venus becomes debilitated. From here, Venus is aspecting its exaltation sign of Pisces. So during the dasha of Venus, you will get huge amount of wealth. Now in the last example, say Pisces. In the Pisces ascendant, the eighth house will be having debilitated sun. So sun's dasha during this time will be giving its aspect to its exaltation sign of Aries. So this dasha will give you lots of wealth. So friends, this is how we know that the planets, when they become debilitated in the eighth house, can give us huge wealth during their dasha. Now there is the fourth criteria also which you have to keep in mind. If the second lord is placed in the eighth house, then what will be the outcome? So from here it is aspecting its own house. So it means during the dasha of the planet, which is the lord of your second house, which is placed in the eighth house, it will give you good amount of wealth. It will definitely give you wealth, because any planet which is aspecting its own house from the seventh house, sitting seventh to it, and it is aspecting its own sign or own house, will always make that house powerful. So it means if the second lord is in your eighth house, it will give you lots of wealth. But we should not forget that the wealth will come through some hardships, because by being placed in the eighth house, it is going to cause some hardships to you. And only after that, it will be able to deliver you good wealth. Now, these are some of the points that you should keep in mind. And I'm also going to explain to you these points with the help of certain examples, which I have brought for you. And I'm going to put my screen on the share mode. So this is the first example of Cancer ascendant of a person who is doing very well, because if you look at his chart, the eighth house is having Venus, Mercury, and Moon. So the period of Venus can give him some difficulties related to wealth, because Venus from the eighth is aspecting its sign of enemy, because Venus doesn't consider Sun as its friend. So Venus is looking, aspecting at its enemy sign. But because it is getting the aspect of benefic Jupiter, so the damage that it can do for this person will be minimized. Now, Mercury and Moon during their Dasha period are capable of giving him huge wealth. The reason is that both Mercury and Moon consider Sun as their good friend. So during their Dasha, they will give him good wealth. And currently, this individual is going through the Dasha period of Mercury, and he is doing pretty well where it concerns his wealth. Now we'll talk about the second example, which is of a film star, superstar Amitabh Bachchan in the Indian Bollywood industry. And if we look at his eighth house, there are 4 planets. Anybody who looks at his chart in the first glimpse will say that the person's life will be very difficult, or nobody would want to say that this person could be doing very well where it concerns money. But the truth is that he is doing extremely well, and he's very well off where it comes to wealth, because of the placement of these 4 planets in his eighth house. Now let's understand this. So Sun is aspecting its friend's sign Jupiter. So during the period of Sun, the person is going to do very well, and in terms of his wealth, and the Mahadasha of Sun is approaching. So even in the Antardasha of Sun, the person is going to do well where it concerns his wealth. Then the period of Mercury will be very bad for him. And in fact, during the period of Mercury, he went into bankruptcy. The reason was that the Mercury was sitting exalted in the eighth house, but from here it was aspecting its debilitated sign of Pisces. So it caused bankruptcy to him. Let's take the third case here of Mars. When Mars comes in its dasha, it is capable of giving him huge wealth because Mars is aspecting its friend's sign of Jupiter. The period of Venus will be extremely good for him, although Venus is debilitated in the sign of Virgo here. But Venus from here is aspecting his second house, which is its exaltation sign. So currently he is in the Venus Dasha and he is doing very well at a very big age. He's still very active in the cinemas and he's very active in the TV industry also. So he is doing very good where it comes to wealth in the Mahadasha of Venus. Now we'll take the third example. In this third example, Moon is sitting debilitated in the 8th house. From here, it is aspecting the second house of Taurus, which is its exaltation sign. So the period of Moon is very good for this native, and he's a businessman, and currently he's going to end with his Moon Dasha. The Moon Dasha is ending and he is doing good in terms of his wealth because Moon is aspecting its exaltation sign. So friends, these are some of the points which we all should keep in our mind when we study the planets which are posited in the 8th house. It is not always the case that the planets here will give us turbulence or difficulties. In fact, they are capable of giving us sound amount of wealth, and the sources of wealth will always be associated with the things which are coming from the 8th house. Like the 8th house is all about transformations. So the wealth could come through the transformations. The wealth could come through occult sciences, which involves astrology, tarot, numerology, healings. So the wealth source could be related to the 8th house, or the wealth source could be associated with the planets which are placed in the 8th house, which could be associated with their karakattvas, like Venus. In Amitabh Bachchan's case, Venus is associated with movies, so he's earning money through movies. And the period of Mercury is associated with lots of businesses, so he is earning money through businesses also. So either you earn wealth through the karakas of the planets which are placed in the 8th house, or you will earn wealth through the planets through the things which are coming through the 8th house. So if the 8th house becomes very powerful, there could be a possibility of income tax inquiry also. So you have to keep all these things in mind. I hope this video would have helped you in interpreting the results of the planets in the 8th house. Stay connected and I'll try to bring some more interesting topics in the near future. Till then, all the best and goodbye, friends.